What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Bring the Thunder podcast. I'm here with Satvir, Thunder Talk, and Landon at Thunder Fan Zone. Minnesota responded tonight, I'll tell you that. 143 to 101. We were all, you know, under the assumption that Minnesota would be playing desperate tonight and, they would throw the first punch. But their first punch knocked us out cold, and we never got up. A 42-point loss on the road in Game 3. Just wasn't able to get anything going ever in this game. Minnesota started hot, stayed that way the whole game, and we just never got into a rhythm, never got into a flow offensively, and couldn't, stop them from knocking down threes. Real quick before we get into, further detail, Minnesota shot 50% from three tonight, 57 from the field. They won the turnover battle, they won the assist battle, they won the rebound battle. You get where I'm going. Ant finished with 39 and 6 on 12 of 17, 5 of 8. Randall had 24, 4 and 3, 9 of 15. And then there was the rest of them. Terrence Shannon had 15 points in 13 minutes, but we could talk about him if they play him again in the next game and he produces. This game was a wash. On our side, Shea 14 and 6 in 28 minutes, shot the ball 13 times. J-Dub shot the ball 9 times, had 13 points. Chet shot the ball 7 times, had 10 points. AJ Mitchell looked good in his 19 minutes. He had 14 points, but yeah, it was one of those playoff washes where you're down 0-2 and you're at home and you got to come out and just win the game, and that's what Minnesota did, and they played their asses off tonight.
Yeah, I guess the main takeaway that I noticed early on in the first quarter was they clearly, I know exactly what happened. They clearly took advice from someone very probably specific on how to get Randall in isolation. The main person that I'm referencing is like Dirk Nowitzki. That same scheme is the same scheme that they used for Randall, which is at like the top of the key isolation where you can't double from either side. We do that with Shea pretty much a lot. So they kind of copied us a little bit with having him at the top of the key, so he's way harder to double team. That frees him up, so he doesn't have those turnovers on the wings. Because before he was attacking on both sides of the wings, and so we could double up on him. Right now we can't double up on him, so we have to adjust the game plan. The other thing I noticed really quickly was very quickly in the game, we didn't see much of Rudy Gobert. They build out their lead. Obviously, he comes back in after that, but I think I said that, like, if we go up 2-0, look for Naz Reid to start entering in as the spacing center. And the third thing that I guess I'll point towards for this game, man, the effort early. This has nothing to do with coaching. This has nothing to do with making or missing shots. You start seeing the lead go further and further, and I feel like there wasn't a sense of urgency as the lead grew to like keep it within a distance where you can at least, bring it back, right? Like once they took a 30-point lead, like we kept it close when it was like a 25-point lead. Once they got to like a 30-point lead, like the 5-point difference, yeah, it doesn't make a lot, but like as soon as they got to a certain point where they're like, okay, we're probably not winning this, they kind of just let it go. And I was kind of disappointed more about that than like how the game went or anything like that. Like that's not what I've seen throughout the whole season. Like these guys usually don't just mail it in. I feel like Coach mailed it in a little bit too, where obviously he wants to rest these guys going in because we only get 1 day of rest between. But the next game is in Minnesota. It's not like there's travel time or anything. Like they're not resting for anything. So I would like to see those guys be out there a little bit longer, me personally. But man, those are the 3 key takeaways. We got to make some adjustments. I don't think there's much of an adjustment to make in terms of guarding Anthony Edwards. He's going to do what he does. he has made the adjustment on his own end to attack the basket a lot more. He shot pretty well from the 3-point line. Like if he does that, great. You kind of just give it to him. But he was scoring a point per minute, so he's the guy that I would rather send double teams towards because he's not like an isolation scorer. He's kind of in the open court, so he's the guy you can double up on. And we're just gonna have to live with Julius Randle at the top of the key, going for fadeaway shots. I'll live with that, to be honest. Instead of Lou Dort matching up, we need to match up a little bit taller with him. Maybe switch J-Dub as his primary defender because there's no way Lou Dort's going to keep up with him if they're going to have that adjustment. So those are the couple of things that I'm looking for, but we'll see if
I'm
we
gonna
make that.
let Landon kind of carry off of this, but during the game we were having conversation like we always do and going back and forth and whatnot, and we were kind of on the side where there was no sense of urgency. You know, they weren't making shots. Minnesota was gonna take one, and one of us on the show was saying, you know, was waiting for that third quarter run, but this team can't rely on the runs when they're down by 30. Landon, I'm gonna let you take that over, but I just wanted to transition into that.
Nah, slow runs have been a thing. Like it was relevant during the regular season. It was relevant at some points in the Grizzlies series. At some points, I would say even in the Nuggets series. And I mean, yeah, we're an experienced team now. We've played 2 playoff series, and so into this third one in the semifinals, starting slow shouldn't still be a thing. I don't really care if we're playing in Minnesota. Like I understand it may take a minute to settle in, but we still have to keep it competitive. We still have to stay within at least single digits early on. But really the one thing that made me mad was the turnovers. Like I get Minnesota's a good defensive team. They rank pretty high in defensive categories, but I understand we're bound to turn the ball over. Turnovers are going to happen. Sometimes we're going to make boneheaded decisions. It's just basketball players aren't perfect, but there were a lot of controllable ones, and it got to the point I was like, enough is enough. Just throwing the ball out of bounds, not being on the same page. Hartenstein, top of the key, carrying the ball loose, being careless with the ball. And that they have athletic guys. They have Anthony Edwards. If they get a turnover, they're going out and they're getting in transition and they're going to capitalize on it. We just can't be so loose with the ball. And we have to, if they're in help defense, we can't be throwing the ball right to them. That's just not smart basketball. And I don't know if we turn the ball the least. I don't know if we lead the league in the least amount of turnovers, but I want to say we do. But I mean,
Yeah, definitely
that's how we've won a lot of playoff games is off of scoring off of turnovers.
right.
Yeah,
It's hard to. Oh, go ahead, Sabri.
Yeah, I was going to transition into the fact that you're mentioning the turnovers.
We were first in the league in fewest turnovers per game.
Yeah, and Shea is one of the guys that doesn't turn the ball over much. He's known for that. He's highly efficient. The thing that they made the adjustment on was the exact thing that I said in the last recording that we did for game 2 post game, which was they're going to start pressing up higher up the court, same as what Denver did. And we're going to have to respond to that pressure. And we didn't respond to it well in Denver. It took us a while to figure out. And since they have a different personnel, it looks different. So when Rudy's pressing up against Shea and it's like a pseudo double team, the way he responds is lackadaisical passes, which if you're going to do that against a DPOY level candidate, he's going to get the ball at some points. He's played in the league long enough where, yeah, you can pick on a guy like that when he's in a drop coverage. But once they start pressing, you have to switch up your own offensive scheme. The same scheme is not going to work where you're going to kick out to shooters. You're going to have to start splitting double teams, attacking the double team a lot earlier. You got to notice it. And the processing wasn't up to the pace that it needed to be for how they were pressuring us on defense early. And I noticed that right off the bat, hey, they're pressing up high. So you pull them up closer to half court, let go of the ball early, and start swinging it around. and then J-Dub or Chet, someone's got to attack the rack. For someone else has to be the guy that's going towards the basket, and that kind of leads into the point that we need additional playmaking from J-Dub more so if they're going to start playing this style. And do we trust? Are we going to have to, are we going to trust that for the next set of games in terms of if J-Dubs is the next playmaker? And that's where, that's kind of where we're at. Like, we can't really trust Lou Dort to make those drive-in kicks as often as well. So I think that's going to be the game plan for them. Is Shea's not going to be the initiator of the offense from an assist perspective because he's been doing really well at that. So we're going to have to see other guys step it up with the rim pressure because he's going to see this pressure the rest of the series. Like, they figured that out, and Denver did it too. This team's way more athletic than Denver. So the reason that, over time we kind of wore on Denver is they came off a long series and they didn't have the athletic personnel to keep up the pressure. This team can keep up the same level of pressure for the next, set of games. So a huge adjustment is going to be needed. I would say in the starting lineup, we need to go smaller. The guy that I would look for is Cason Wallace. When you need playmaking, he's shown that he can alleviate the pressure, and I trust him with the ball. He's been one of the lower turnover guys on our team. Even though he's a second-year player, he's the guy that we should probably insert in this position, especially when they're in a small ball with Naz Reid. I trust Cason to hold his own. And maybe even subbing out Lou Dort a little bit early as well, so we can have a better matchup against Randall with like a J-Will. I wouldn't mind J-Will coming off the bench pretty early because we're going to need some size for the rebounding. We lost the rebounding battle today. Like, I think it's 41 to 57, so nearly like 20 more rebounds for them. And that started early on the boards. I noticed that as a trend over the last two games. They've been beating us on the offensive boards. It just didn't translate it into points because we did really good at defense. But that's not going to be the case all the time, right? Like, you're not always going to get perfect stops, and we've gotten that in the past two games. But when that doesn't happen, this is the type of game that happens where all things go against you. You don't rebound the ball the way you need to. You get a bunch of turnovers, and then you're not on top of your game on top of that, and you haven't made an adjustment in the game to their defensive scheme, you're going to get blown out by 40 if you don't make an adjustment. I didn't see a single adjustment.
Yeah, so we pretty much kind of threw in the towel early tonight, which I'm not too happy about, but I will say I was going to, agree with you. I do believe wholeheartedly that Hartenstein will be taking a seat and Cason will be starting in Game 4. I've been calling for this, or we've been calling for this, but now I truthfully think that Mark's going to see, it is going to be Cason in the starting lineup. And all we got to do, guys, is just come out strong. It's going to be a battle, but listen, we win Game 4. The series, I'm not going to say it's over because we've had some 3-1 leads in the past, but and we bring it back home to OKC, and that's really it, right? We knew Minnesota was going to get one of these. Preferred it to be Game 4, but so be it. Game 3. Didn't expect it to be a 42-point blowout, but listen, that's the playoffs. The way these games trend, I think Mark saw it. I think Shea saw it. And I think they took their opportunity to kind of let their foot off the gas pedal. They shot a lot of threes, again, in this game. Like we said, the intensity wasn't there. So I expect a revamped OKC team in Game 4. I expect a different lineup, a few different defensive adjustments. And I think they're going to be fine. Now, if we do lose Game 4, then we'll have a completely different discussion. I just think that this team is much better than Minnesota still, and they'll be going home up 3-1.
I don't disagree with you. I feel like, even they put Isaiah Joe inserted him in the starting lineup to start the third quarter, and it looked like we had a little life. It was just too little, too late. Like, that's the response we should have had in the second quarter while we had the chance to at least cut their lead a little bit. But that gives me some hope knowing that maybe we have something.
Yeah, I like that adjustment. So the way the game kind of went, we scored the first 4 points. They scored a 34-10 run. It's pretty much end of the quarter, 34-14 with a 20-point lead. Obviously, Anthony Edwards closed it out with like 16 in the first quarter, and then they went on to have like a pretty good onslaught, 72-41 lead at halftime, and then that run came with the 12-2 run, which we cut the lead to 22. Coach Finch calls a timeout, and then they go back on another 23-4 run. So it was a game of runs, not obviously in our favor. They led by 41 after that, and it was just a tough game where if we didn't put ourselves in a 20-point hole in the first quarter, and we come out the way we did in the third, we typically, would have had probably like a double-digit game, in most cases. But when you don't show up for the first two quarters, you can't expect to always save yourself in the third. And I feel like that's what the team was expecting. Like, oh, like we go down 30 or we go down 40 or whatever it is, we'll just come back. And it's like, no, man, we're in the Western Conference Finals. This is your opportunity and you've got to take it. And it didn't feel like that's the way they were playing, at least the first two quarters. So,
right, especially the first two quarters. But again, it's still 2-1. And the good thing in the playoffs is, like we saw in a past series, it doesn't matter how much you lose by or how much you win by. You'll still get the win or loss in your column. We saw OKC beat Denver by 43 points in Game 2 and then go on to lose Game 3. So every game is different. This one, not a good one. I mean, hats off to them. They shot 43s and made 20 of them. Right? This was do or die for Minnesota, and they played like it. Now, Sapphire was saying we should have, played like it was do or die for us. We clearly didn't. But I believe that'll change, and Game 4 will be ours again. I think it'll be a long game, but we'll, win the fourth quarter, win the third quarter, and probably go home up 3-1.
It'll be a much closer game next game.
Hard. These games happen. These games happen. That's really it. I mean, I'm still confident as hell. I don't really care about the score too much. It's just they make that one adjustment with Queso in the starting lineup. I think they'll start much faster and win the game. I really do.
No, the score could honestly work to our benefit. Maybe the bigger win, higher margin by Minnesota. Maybe it'll fuel our team a little more and add an extra sting going into the next game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, getting embarrassed like that, I'm sure we're not too happy with that, and I'm sure we're going to come out strong. And yeah, like you said, it's add a little extra sting to it, and we'll see how they respond. Listen, every time we doubt this team, or every time, let me just rephrase that. Every time we lose a game, we come back and win the next one. Every time we lose a game, we come back and are super impressed by this team all season long. And I expect the same thing Game 4.
I'd love to see another like Kenrich Williams type situation where someone off the bench applies themselves and kind of becomes that guy off the bench that gives us a spark. I don't know who that would be. Maybe Wiggins, maybe even AJ Mitchell. We saw a lot of good minutes from him today, but it would be nice to have another one of those because Minnesota had one of those in Terrence Shannon Jr. today. Let me say, man, he was hooping.
He was hooping.
Yeah, the game was already way out of control when he came in, so it's much easier when it's like a 20-point lead and all you have to do is come get big buckets, and that's what he's known for. So that's like Aaron Wiggins coming in. Yeah,
he is a legit player though. I watched him play a lot at Illinois, and I knew his game could be applied in the NBA the way he's just able to score one-on-one.
Yeah, he's definitely a pure scorer.
We talked a lot about him during the regular season when he had a few good games against OKC, and we were all surprised about how he slipped the second round. We know the circumstance of why he did. We're not going to get into that, but he's a good player. I fully welcome them to play him more, especially in the next game. I'm not worried about Terrence Shannon Jr. He had a good game today, whatever. Like Sapphire said, he came in, we were already down by 25 points, so what are you going to do? It's really just the effort level, and that's going to change. We got a comment that says changing the lineup is overreacting. It's not because I could hold like I could guarantee you that Hartenstein's not in the starting lineup next game. His minutes this series have been under 30 every game, I believe, and there's a reason for that. And now that 2 out of the 3 games this series we started off super slow, um, it's going to change, and that's
I would
it.
say
Like
3 out of 3. We kind of didn't start the way we need to. So
yeah, it's gonna change. I'm hoping it's Kaysen. I got another comment up there saying that JW needs to stop shooting threes. That's not true. He went 2 for 5 tonight. We'll take that every game. He was knocking
yeah,
down threes in game 2. He's been excellent all series so
Jada
far.
was really aggressive in this game. Anyways, he was getting to the line. He was doing his thing. He was one of the guys that I thought was he's one of those guys when we are ever getting blown out, he's always putting full
Yeah.
effort. The other guy that I could see in the starting lineup is Aaron Wiggins, just for the added offense, because the scheme of the offense for like the Wolves, it has been they're going to increase their offensive output now. So we kind of have to match that. We saw that with their overall like field goal percentage and their 3-point percentage. So it's kind of become a race towards figuring out their defensive scheme, but also figuring out their offensive scheme where they're starting to try to hum a little bit
Well,
better. So
their scheme isn't hard. It's a lot of isolation. It's a lot of pick and roll. It's Ant ISO, Julius ISO, and then 3 other shooters around them. It's really not that hard. They just have to guard. We just have to be able to guard man to man, which this team is more than capable of doing, and that's why I'm super confident. They could try to continue to have an increased offensive output, but that just means they're shooting the ball more. And yeah, tonight they hit 50% of their shots, more than 50% of their shots. We see what happens when they don't, and there's a reason for that. So again, we got steamrolled
There's
tonight because they came out and made every single shot. We didn't.
there's anyone
We let our foot off the gas.
go ahead, Landon.
if there's anyone you want to point the finger at for 3-point shooting is Isaiah Joe tonight. He's been ranging around the 40 to 50% range the whole playoffs, and then he comes out tonight and goes 0 for 5 from 3. The reason we signed him to an extension is, or the reason we signed him to a long-term contract is because we wanted him to be the 3-point shooter on the team and the guy you're scared of when he catches the ball at the 3-point line, because it's almost a guarantee it's going in, and we just didn't get that from him tonight.
Yeah, I'm more confident in throwing Kaysen out there. Kaysen's been consistent the whole playoffs. He's gotten more minutes, and he also provides top tier defense. That's why I'd prefer Kaysen. I was gonna get to one more thing tonight, but I completely lost it, to be honest.
While you're thinking of the one more thing, we lost 5 back-to-back games this season. We had an overall record of 11-5 in the back-to-back games, so we've been pretty good coming off a loss. We've known that for most of the season. I don't think we lost 3 in a row all year, including the playoffs. So we've been doing our thing, man. We're usually a bounce back team. Like, we've had some crazy losses, Joe and Landon. Like, we know we've had some crazy losses, and we'll come back. And then the one that really sticks with me is like that Cavaliers loss, and then the Cavaliers win that we had, which was in the same week. So
yeah, you kind of just sparked my memory. I was gonna say, like, we've seen this team go into Denver and lose game 3 and then win game 4. We've seen this team almost get jumped by Memphis in game 3 and then Ja went out. We were probably going to lose that game, but it's the full confidence in this team to just fully bounce back. They've done it all year. We got guys saying T-Wolves winning game 4, 5, and 6. Delusional. It was nice. Timberwolves got theirs tonight. That's probably the only one they're going to get. And if I'm wrong, we'll regroup and talk about it. But I fully believe it's OKC in 5 still.
Yeah, their job is to protect their home court, and they did that tonight. So we're gonna head back and drop a better scheme. There's so many more things that Mark can always initiate. We've seen him make crazy, amazing adjustments, especially more from a defensive aspect. So let's see if he changes up the starting lineup a little bit. But I hope we see a little bit better schemes against Julius and Ant Edwards, because it was just way too comfortable for both of them. Like,
A lot of space for them tonight. A lot of space for their shots tonight.
yeah, a lot of space, and just you can't let a guy like Anthony Edwards turn defense into offense and get easy buckets, because when his confidence starts rolling, and that's when he starts hitting his shots. Because
Yeah, yeah.
if you limit him and have him turning over the ball, he starts getting in his own head, and he's like, okay, I gotta isolate and take over, and that's kind of the headspace that we want both of those other guys, to be in. Versus they're a great team when they start rolling. Like those guys, they get this sense of confidence like no other between themselves. So we can't let them have that comfort. We got to put them in an uncomfortable situation scenario. That's what we've done the past two games. This game, they did not feel uncomfortable. Like I saw Julius going out maybe after the first quarter or the second quarter, and he wasn't smiling. He wasn't doing any of that. He was taking the game very serious. He looked really upset the whole time on the bench last game when he got benched. And in this game as well, the whole game, that man did not crack a single smile. I watched him like a hawk. And so he was taking this game very serious. He did not want to get any more bench minutes. And so we got to play like that. You have to know these guys they're not going to go out like this. So
yeah, my last statement here is, it's really hard to beat a team 3 games in a row. Really hard to sweep in the Western Conference Final. This is probably the best game Minnesota's going to play all series. The worst game we're going to play all series. We've seen this team bounce back, and I believe they will.
The worst game Shea's gonna play in this series.
Worst game Shea is going to play, and it benefits us resting our starters for pretty much the whole second half. So we'll be back on top 3-1 after game 4 is my prediction. I guess you guys can give yours, and we'll get out of here.
Oh, we'll definitely win the next game. The other thing I looked at just now is the shot chart that we pulled up from yesterday, and Shea took a couple extra threes, which I didn't like, and he only made really one mid-range and one basket at near inside the paint. Everything else he kind of missed around the paint. Him missing mid-ranges is uncharacteristic, so that just comes down to him, locking in, making sure he's hitting those shots, but also we got to get him a little bit different looks and opportunities, because when you run the same scheme over and over, they're going to make an adjustment. And so we're going to do the same, and we'll definitely win the next game. I have faith in these guys. We've always bounced back, and regardless of how next game goes, to be honest, I'm very comfortable with us closing everything out on our home court this series. So Thunder winning this series, man.
I think they are too, and Shea's not scoring 14 points again, and this offense is relying on Shea scoring. When Shea carves out defenses and gets to his spots, gets his layups, gets to the free throw line, it opens up the offense for other guys and helps get those guys going. And I just don't see him play again like that. From a mental aspect, he's going to be locked in. Want to prove a point in Minnesota that he's that guy. All the way back to what Ant said. Ant had that little interview and said he's a better player than Luka and Shea. I think this series is very personal for Shea, and I don't think Shea will be satisfied with his performance tonight. So I expect something big from him in Game 4, and I expect something big from the Thunder. I think we win. I think we have a good response.
There you go. All right, so we all agree. So we will see everybody back on. We only got another day of rest here, right?
Yep.
Yeah, we'll see everybody on
Monday.
What is that? Monday at 7:30 Central, and we'll be smiling and have a commanding lead after that. But again, appreciate everybody for tuning in. Again, if you're enjoying the content, hit that subscribe button. Also, if you are first-time listeners, on our Instagram at Bring the Thunder Podcast, we are doing a $100 NBA Store gift card giveaway. The details are on the Instagram. Go hit that up, and we will see you guys next time. And Thunder up, baby. Let's go.